So you may notice that I am in front of a blank wall, not in my usual corner. And I guess that's not really that big of a difference. But you will see why soon enough. Jojo Rabbit is written and directed by Taika Waititi and stars Roman Griffin Davis and Thomasin McKenzie. This movie tells the story of a boy growing up in Nazi Germany who is training to become a soldier. His world is turned upside down when he finds out that his mom is hiding a Jewish girl in his house. Honestly, I didn't know what to expect with this movie. I saw the trailer and I'm like, Hitler imaginary friend? That looks crazy. And of course, Taika Waititi is playing Hitler, and that looked insane. So I was very curious to see how this movie was going to turn out. And I was really surprised that this was actually despite the subject matter, it was one of the sweetest, most heartfelt movies. I mean, it does definitely have its moments because it is taking place during World War II, during the height of Nazi Germany. But at its core, this movie has a lot of heart, and it is one of my favorite movies so far. So it worked. First and foremost, the performances in this movie were great across the board. But I want to give a very special shout out to Roman Griffin Davis because this is his first movie, as far as I could find on IMDb, and this kid knocked it out of the park. I think he did great holding this movie together. He was such an innocent kid. You can see how he was kind of brainwashed by the Nazi teachings. Like, he didn't necessarily have a reason for all of the things that he believed in. He just knew it as, this is what they taught me growing up. This is what Hitler would want. Jews are bad. And you just see how absurd this worldview is, and you see it change as he interacts more with this girl hiding in his house. And I thought his transformation from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie was just done so well. There's also Thomasin McKenzie, who plays the Jewish girl that's in their house. And I thought she played off of Jojo really well. Also, it makes him really think differently. She really challenges him. And I feel like their dynamic was one of the main things that really made this movie so heartwarming and so special. Scarlett Johansson also did great as Jojo's mom. Her ideology was definitely different than his. You saw that she was advocating more for peace, and she was really trying to get Jojo to see why the war itself was wrong. And I thought she was a great voice of reason for Jojo, and their relationship is another one of those things that really helped make this movie so emotional and so heartfelt. And then there's Taika Waititi as Hitler. I mean, this was so crazy. He really just went all out for this one. What I loved about it is, one, he was kind of a devil on his shoulder, right? Like, he's really trying to get Jojo to continue being a Nazi, to continue doing, like, the crazy stuff that Hitler was doing at the time, right? But then he was also just really wacky. And one thing I really liked is that there'd be times where he was just in the background, or he was next to Jojo, but of course no one else can see him because he's an imaginary friend. And he would just look at people weird and do weird things, and I thought that added a new level of comedy that really just made this movie like over the top. And that brings me to the next point, the comedy. This movie, I think, was one of the funniest of the year. Part of that is because you could tell that they were really just mocking the Nazis, and that all the actors and the cast were just really having the time of their lives, just acting completely absurd. And I think this movie does a really good job of just pointing out how over the top and how weird and how crazy the stuff that these people were saying and doing. And what I think it really reminds me of is BlacKkKlansman, which also took the same approach to the KKK, where they're saying exactly the stuff that they were saying at the time. Like, everything they were saying seemed historically accurate, but it was just so over the top. Like, their delivery made it just so hilarious because, it's like, who thinks like this? And I thought that was really well done. Now, I think even though this movie is really funny, it also does take time to be serious when there's moments that demand it be serious, which I thought was really great, because there's some movies that don't know when to turn off the comedy and really sit in the serious moments. And I think this movie definitely does that really well. And so on the surface, this is some crazy Nazi movie, right? But if you really watch what's going on and really think about it, this movie has a lot more to say just about society in general, how we see people, the absurdity of hate, how ignorance leads to people doing and saying things that are really messed up. And in some cases, these people don't really truly believe everything. Maybe it's that they're just following the crowd, and that's another thing this movie talks about, is not following the crowd, doing what feels right to you, being your own person, learning things for yourself, being educated, learning the truth about people, talking to people, getting to know them. These are things that make society work better, makes us all work together as a whole. It uses Nazis as like the most extreme case of what happens when you don't get to know people, when you follow the crowd, when you just do whatever someone else tells you, you don't learn things for yourself. And I think this movie just does such a great job of sharing these messages along with giving you some really heartfelt moments and some really dark moments. But overall, I think this was just such an enjoyable movie. The verdict. I think Jojo Rabbit is solid. This movie is one of my favorites of the year, as I said. It was funny, it was thoughtful, it was heartfelt, and Roman Griffin Davis absolutely killed in this movie, especially as his debut, as his first movie. I think this kid has a bright future. I feel like he's going to do really great, and I really look forward to seeing what other movies he does in the future. And also great performances from Sam Rockwell, Rebel Wilson, Thomasin McKenzie, Taika Waititi, who also wrote and directed the movie. I think everybody absolutely killed it across the board. I think this is a very special movie, a very timely movie, and I feel like everybody should see it. Now, I would recommend going to see it in theaters if you can, but if not, always try and catch it somewhere on streaming or rent the movie. Have you seen Jojo Rabbit? What did you think? Let me know down in the comments. Also, don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one.